A live Locked On Lions squad show starts right now. You got Jake Riepma and you got the 20-year NFL veteran, Bradford Banta. We're going to take it all the way. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I tell you what, Jake, you know what? The Lions, they're talking scheme, they're talking chemistry, and they're talking continuity. And one fan said, nah, I'm taking this to court.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Well, here we go. Producer's a little trigger happy to get it going this morning. Welcome into a live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma, Bradford Banta, and I hope we don't lose our entire audience, but we'll break the news right away. A last-minute call to Natalie Kerwin to do some Detroit Pistons media responsibilities, but hey, that's par for the course in season. We're off season. Totally get that. We'll miss Natalie Kerwin. She'll be back the next episode. But Bradford, I'm so excited to get the show going on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. I hit that intro way too fast, cut you off because, man, one Lions fan said not so fast. 100 million. We'll get into that later in the program. We've got a huge big-time guest today, John Jansen. You hear him every morning on 97.1 The Ticket. He'll join us later on in the program. We've got the Pro Bowl to recap, all kinds of good stuff, and I'm just fired up just thinking about it.
Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah,
Pro
I know,
Bowl.
hard to believe, right?
Like, do they even play that in a bowl anymore?
Oh, man. It looked like it was in a convention center last night. And I've talked to the classic boots on the ground for those that are lucky enough to go to Radio Row and trying to get the recap on everything. You know, how's this? How's that? I guess it was the big media party at the Super Bowl last night. And everybody's just giving San Francisco 2 thumbs down as a host city. And everything's spread out. Look, I'm not here to give anybody any geography lessons. We certainly know I'm not qualified or capable of that, but I understand some stuff was in San Jose. You got some stuff, obviously the stadium, Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, and the events last night. There's just a lot to do. And if you don't have your BART pass, I don't know how you're getting from point A to point B.
I tell you, the funny part about it, I've talked to several people and they asked me if I was going out to go attend some of the parties and this, that, and the other. And I was like, no, I'm staying back home. But I also was just thinking to myself, I was like, are you going out there? And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay, what are you going to go to? Well, we have to leave at 2 so we can get to this 5 o'clock event, which is, which should be about an hour away, but with traffic, it may turn into 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's just everything is spread out. I mean, an hour and a half here, an hour and a half there, and I'm talking about just travel time. Now, once you get to the event, I think you're going to have a good time. Here's another thing that I found interesting that I read before we came on air. Now, traditionally, clubs, if you're the host city and your team is not playing in the Super Bowl, so you give up your facility for one of the other teams that's coming in for practice reasons. Surprisingly enough, and they did this in years past, whenever they hosted the Super Bowl in San Francisco, none of the teams are practicing at the 49ers facility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it because of the power substation? I was
just going to say, where's my tinfoil hat, Bradford?
But, here's the thing. I after reading about it, and it's just reading about it, right? I'm by no means a doctor, a scientist, or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that power substation, talking about the injuries that they have sustained over the past few years. This is just a theory. It's the talking heads wanting to talk about on air like we're doing right now. But the Seattle and and New England are actually practicing at Stanford and then San Jose State, which I think is a good thing because it kind of gets them out of the way and it gets them in a semi-normal routine that you can have whenever you're in a city for a week at a time. I can speak whenever I was coaching for the New Orleans Saints, we played over in London. And we had it scheduled to where we played Carolina at Carolina, and then we left immediately following that game and then spent the week in the UK. Well, they had us stay at, I wouldn't even call it a resort, but it was a hotel. And we were out in the middle of nowhere, and we ended up practicing at this rugby field, and it ended up working out great. But there's a couple other stories that we can tell on down the line regarding that situation.
Oh, yeah. That'll be a phenomenal Bradford banter segment, because I'll tell you what, though, I know a guy that no electromagnetic field wouldn't affect, and it wouldn't cause him to get injured. That's our next guest, John Jansen. We're going to talk with John Jansen from 97.1 The Ticket right after this in just a second. Don't go anywhere. It's a live Locked On Lions squad show. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. And instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms, and they work to get every deduction. That's the name of the game, right? You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, you just got to file by February 28th. That's coming right up. Taxes. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, time now to welcome to the program for his Locked On Lions debut, fresh off a top 10 ranking in the Barrett Sports Media poll. I know you guys pay really close attention to that. And John Jansen, you're all about the rankings, man. But hey, fired up to have you on the program. You hear him every morning on 97.1 The Ticket. Thanks for making time for us, man. Congrats on the top 10 ranking, coming in at number 7.
I appreciate it. Jake, it's been a long time. It's good to see you, Brad. It's not been long enough.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I reflect that comment, John. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
And, I love it.
In regards to the rankings, like, hey, we're all wrapped up in rankings, right? That's what we do in sports. And now I'm just pissed because there's six other teams that are in front of us. So find a way to climb that one. But thanks for the intro.
No, absolutely, man. And I was going to start too, normally when we have people on from my old station, 97.1 The Ticket, I talk about, being bullied and having to call HR on all these guys and Rieger making my life hell. Jansen was, I don't care what anybody says. I know it's quite the contrary to what happened on the field, but you were always cool to me. I was just some young pup pressing buttons back then. Now I don't shut up. And Banta's probably like, yeah, I don't know how you worked with this guy.
Hey, we're all trying to figure out a way to make it, and you're doing a great job. I have listened to you guys. I appreciate your show. It's always great information and fairly entertaining. When you got Banta and the whole banter segment.
No doubt. And we had Costa on earlier in the off season, which I love it. We get the eye roll right away. But no, I want to echo those same remarks because I still listen to you guys all the time. And that's kind of in all of this, it's supposed to be fun, but you guys do such a great job making it entertaining and informative. That's the name of the game. But is it with Costa and Bradford? You can even attest to this, even on our show. Like, you can't have a conversation without arguing with the guy. I love it.
Well, he's very argumentative, and what's amazing, and I almost lost it this morning. We're going on, just over about a year, and I almost lost it in regards to coming across the desk to just rip his throat out, because there are times where he just, I know he says things, he's got to believe that they're dumb, but he says them just because they're gonna get my ire. And I do appreciate you having him on first, which means it's an easy bar for me to get over.
No doubt. We set the bar low, and I guess that kind of gives you the floor too. You get the last word.
Well, I mean, that's always what I like to do. And now that we've got all these hard outs, I try and work it all the way up until, hey, 59 seconds. I say my last thing, and then, hey, we go to network break, and he can't reply. So, Jake, as you know, that's tricks of the trade.
That's right, for sure. John Jansen is with us on the live Locked On Lions squad show. Normally, we have Natalie Kerwin with us, too, our third member of the Locked On Lions squad show, and she's our resident fashion insider. So that's where I want to start with this, because we had breaking news in the fashion world, and I'm sure this is probably high on the priority list for you. But Aiden Hutchinson, coming out with a new brand, a golf brand, 4th and 4. When you see those types of headlines, the most important stuff in the off season. I mean, the guy can dominate on the field, but as long as the brand is strong, that's what we're all about, right? That's what we're paying him the big bucks for.
Yeah, 4th and 4. I mean, obviously Dan's going to go for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, everybody's got a brand. Brad and I come from an era where it was all about playing football. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't worry about our quote unquote brand or building our brand. It was about building a team. And I'm not taking any shots at Hutch. He's a great leader. He's a tremendous football player. I roll my eyes, and Brad, I know you do as well, about all the extracurricular stuff that goes on. I heard you guys talking about the whole substation. And, if you stand on one leg and you put your foot in your knee and you stand straight up, you put your arm all the way up to the top, now that's the healing position. And you get all the benefits of that electromagnetic field coming straight through your body. So you heard it here first, right? You can find a way to turn everything into to something. But getting back to Hutch's brand, I wish him all the best of luck. And hopefully it's a good thing for him.
Yeah, John, I'm with you. I wish him all the best of luck. I just want to watch him play golf. I want to see if he can play golf. I didn't get a chance whenever I was at Michigan to observe him playing, but if he comes out with the apparel, okay. Will we see him at the Lake Tahoe tournament before the beginning of the season? Is he good enough? Is he a big enough name? Because God knows they have Barkley that plays in that, who is like a 80 handicap or something like that. So we'll see what kind of pull he has, and then with the apparel coming out now, does that give him an invite to that tournament? We'll see.
Well, and every good golf brand has a good ball cleaner.
I'm not going there.
We'll see how good his is.
I'm not going there.
Come on, man. You guys know I like to have a little fun. Luke,
I know you do. You use a towel or hands. I don't know. I mean, go figure.
Yeah, really break it down for us. But no, John, I didn't
set this up in a transition for Jake. Let's see how you get out of this one.
Yeah. That's the beauty of the podcast. We can say whatever we want, really. You don't have to stick to the the FCC violations or the standard there. But how about this one? I hear Dan Patrick do this one. You just call it out. We make this seamless transition to talking about the Lions offseason and where this team needs to go and why and how they came up short of expectations. Every time we have a guest on, there's some of the sound bites we go back to. Dan Campbell talking about getting, giving himself an F and just a failing grade. You're in it every single day talking about it, but it's always good to have fresh perspective on our show. And at the top of the list of where the Lions fell short, how would you classify just the biggest areas to address in this offseason?
It's hard to criticize the offense because it's still a top 5 offense, but it wasn't the one that we had come accustomed to over the last couple of years. And to me, it wasn't necessarily about Ben Johnson. It wasn't about John Morton or Dan Campbell calling plays. It was the fact that you had an interior of that offensive line that just was insufficient. And to operate at optimum efficiency, you've got to be able to run the football. You've got to be able to use Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. You've got to be able to run and sell play action. And if you can't, then the offense is going to be hampered. And, defensively, and I know we could talk Kelvin Shepard, his first year calling plays, and, the injuries on defense. That's a story in of itself. But in my estimation, the number one thing that has to get fixed, the reason that this team was successful originally when Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell took over, was because they inherited some good pieces on the offensive line, but then they complemented them. And what are they going to do to get back to having a top 3 offensive line? That's the biggest concern, the biggest reason for me why this team underperformed.
Yeah, and John, here's the thing. Look, so what do you think with Petzing being hired? What's the most important trait for like an OC with a veteran QB like Goff? Is it scheme creativity or is it communication clarity?
Communication clarity is always going to be the one for me, because if you go back, I mean, you don't have to go back that far, and all the best teams will tell you, hey, our playbook, yeah, we ran a couple of razzle-dazzle plays, and you've got to be able to set up things with personnel and motions and all that stuff. But if you can't execute your base offense and you can't communicate what it is, I think for Petzing, the biggest thing is let Jared Goff go out there, give him all the tools possible, and you're still going to be calling plays, but give him the power to get to the line of scrimmage and put the team in the best play possible. I think that is the superpower of Jared Goff, is his mind. No one's going to make the argument that he's going to outrun any other quarterback in the NFL. And I get sick and tired of people talking about his immobility. It's the fact that he processes defenses and he processes blitzes. You do have to protect him, but he does a great job of getting rid of the football. He was number 2 or 3 in completion percentage. And yet, how many times did we see him throw the ball away in the 5th row of the stands or dirt the ball in front of Jahmyr Gibbs? If he was concerned about stats, he would take the sack, and he was already sacked 38 times. So the biggest thing for me, for Petzing to give to Jared Goff, is the freedom to go out there and the tools to go out there, put the team in the best play possible, and go play football.
No, 100%. And I take a lot of heat for being a Jared Goff apologist. And I'll even go as far as saying if Goff played in the same era with what Peyton Manning was doing, it's a similar approach to the game where they're a mile ahead of what the opposition is trying to do. And rather than the, oohing and ahhing over the physical abilities like we do with some of the other quarterbacks in this era, which is fine. Obviously, Lamar and Mahomes and Josh Allen and everyone, they're going to do that. But what Goff does mentally at times can be equally impressive. But it does take the 10 other guys, and specifically the offensive line, to be able to afford him that opportunity to do what he does best to help that offense. While we're kind of picking through the offense, what do you think the plan is with David Montgomery? His production way down. Clearly Gibbs becomes the guy, but you could also make the case based on the numbers that this offense is at their best when both running backs are thriving, for lack of a better term. Do you think that's still a focus of this offense under Petzing?
It has to be, and whether it's Montgomery or it's someone else, I don't have this emotional attachment. I love David Montgomery. I think he's still very productive. And the production was down because the opportunity was down, but you need him. And one of the things that we know is running backs have an expiration date. And if you want to extend that with Jahmyr Gibbs, because we've seen he can be physical, he's obviously able to get on the edge, and his acceleration is second to none in the NFL. But if you want to preserve that and use that as long as possible, you need to have 2 backs. And whether it's David Montgomery or someone else, you've got to have somebody that can also shoulder the load so that he's not taking 30 shots. He's a guy that he's going to get his touches, whether you hand him the ball or you throw him the ball. And it's about how many times he takes hits. and you want to use him as much as possible, but you want to extend that viability of Jahmyr Gibbs as far down the road as possible. To do that, you got to have somebody else that can go in there and shoulder part of that load.
Yeah, no doubt. I just all right. Now let's fast forward a little bit to, let's say, OTAs, August, and all that kind of stuff. What, in your opinion, gives us like one camp battle, position group you think that'll matter more than the fans will realize? And I'm kind of serving that up to you.
Well, let's see. Boy, that's interesting, because there could be a lot of different battles, and I mean, the fans, especially here in Detroit, no matter what Amon-Ra says, they're smart about the game of football, and they understand. And so you look at the secondary and you say, well, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, are they even going to be available at the start of the year? Will Kirby Joseph be the same ever again? We have no idea. The corner position with Terrion Arnold, I'm not ready to say that he's a bust because he was drafted in the first round and hasn't produced, but he needs to take a major step forward. I think, other than the offensive line, that's where you've got to be able to get better. And it may not be in terms of going out and signing a big free agent. Maybe you get somebody in a draft. I don't think they do it in the first or second rounds, but you're going to have to address the secondary. DJ Reed probably comes back and he's at his peak self. Never seemed like he fully recovered from that hamstring injury, but I think you've got to be able to count on him. What are you doing with that corner opposite him? Because Amik is a free agent and the secondary's banged up. I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on the secondary to see what Brad Holmes does with the roster.
Absolutely. John Jansen with us on the Locked On Lions Squad show. We'll continue chopping it up about the Lions, and I am going to mix in a Michigan question down the road. There's been a few news items to hit on there, but we'd also be remiss if we didn't talk a little Super Bowl. Not a ton of Lions ties into this one. You got speaking of cornerbacks, I guess you got Carlton Davis playing for the Patriots, but and I said Super Bowl, so I'll probably get in trouble. But what do you make of the big game? How's that? Your take on the big game in San Francisco?
Yeah, don't use those words and don't use Roman numerals. Boy, you'll be off the air before you know it.
That's why I didn't make that the ticket, man. I just couldn't follow the rules.
I know. I think this is a fun matchup, and I think New England needs to win it to justify their season. You look at them, and okay, they played Buffalo and Pittsburgh, the only two teams with winning records on their schedule. They played, obviously, Buffalo twice, split with them. But you look at Seattle, and I believe that they're just a more well-rounded team. I think they're a better defensively, offensively. Sam Darnold takes his shots, but with the way that he played in the NFC Championship game, are you going to get that Sam Darnold, or are you going to get the Sam Darnold that played, in week 18 last year against the Lions? I think it's probably more of the Seattle Sam Darnold. I think that they get the Super Bowl. I think Seattle wins, and I think they actually win comfortably.
Yeah, that 4.5 spread.
Yeah, I mean, the 4.5 spread. You're just, that's got to be one of the biggest in Super Bowl, isn't it?
Probably in the Super Bowl era. And I mean, it's one, like Drake May, like his time is coming. And if they win, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm shocked, because I think Vrabel is a really good coach defensively. If they find ways to turn over Sam Darnold and create, advantageous field position, maybe get a couple of a pick six or a fumble that puts them inside the 10 or the 15 or even in the red zone, that's really the path that they're going to have to take, I think, for winning.
Yeah, without a doubt. I just, it's in. We were talking about it the other day on the show, and with Vrabel coming up with a plan defensively to make Sam Darnold play like the old Sam Darnold, not the Sam Darnold that had played in Seattle this past season. Drake May is coming, and he's going to be in this league for a long time. I think Josh McDaniel has finally found his groove and is probably going to stay in New England for the long term. And I would say he's a lifer OC, and that's his, will he get another head coaching shot? I don't know. Will he take it? I don't know. because what I found interesting this hiring cycle is how many guys pulled their name out of the running with certain clubs. And they were just like, you know what? I think I'll be okay, if I stay here another year. And they took a page from Ben Johnson in doing so. And the one person that really prospered from it, in my opinion, was Brian Flores, because now they're talking about him making $6 million a year as a defensive coordinator. That's not bad change.
No, it's not. And I know the allure and the draw of being the head coach and doing everything your way. But, when you think about just what coordinators are making, whether it's at the college level, which is crazy, and at the NFL level, and you pair that with like a Mike McDaniel going to LA versus, staying in the head coaching search for some of these clubs, that's a better spot to be in, because, you only get so many opportunities, and it didn't work out in Miami. If he takes the Cleveland Browns job or the Raiders job, now all of a sudden he's been a head coach twice. Does he fail? And is he ever get that opportunity again? You have some coordinators that are good, really good at what they do in great situations, and they can sit there and wait for the perfect opportunity, almost like Ben did in going to the Bears with a young quarterback and a cap space and a GM that's willing to listen to the head coach when he says, hey, we need to build that offensive line. That is exactly what they did in Detroit. It's what they've done in Chicago. And I think a lot of these coordinators are just waiting for that opportunity.
Let's go there real quick before we get into the Michigan stuff with Mike McDaniel. I should have brought this up sooner because I'm dying to hear your opinion on what you would have thought of Mike McDaniel as the Lions offensive coordinator, how that would have gelled with the personality of Dan Campbell. And, you kind of strike me as a joggers, capris, big sunglasses guy. So that's right up your alley. I mean, you're probably, we're probably wanting Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator for the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better summer day than capris, my buffs, and a tight tank top.
Yeah,
that's really for me.
Don't forget about the G'd out watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to have some bling to go along with it.
No,
so that comes, I think, basically unsaid. And so in terms of McDaniel with Dan Campbell and Hank Fraley, Mark Brunell, like, to me, it never seemed like it was going to be a fit. Now, he could have come in and lit the world on fire, and all of us would have said, hey, look at this. Look how amiable Dan Campbell is. He can work with anyone. I respect the decision that he's a tremendous play caller, but I don't think it would have been. I think it would have blown up.
And I know we talked about wanting he was at the top of everybody's list, but then you look at just body of work and what he put forth, and because did he call? He didn't call in San Francisco. He didn't call plays in San Francisco, did he? That was Shanahan. That was Shanahan. That was Shanahan. And then whenever he gets the Miami head coaching job, that's whenever he starts calling plays. And what's he doing now? He was looking for a job. So, it's one of these things whenever John Morton was brought in for the Detroit Lions, he only had spent 1 year, I think 2017 with the Jets calling plays. And then and it wasn't great. So I think that this is the right move. They're bringing in a seasoned play caller, and then I'm curious to see how Mike Kafka is going to fit into this offensive staff as well.
High-level assistant. I don't know, hey, Brad. I mean, you've been around the game long enough, right? There's assistants on top of assistants. What does a high-level assistant do versus those low-level guys? I don't think he's going to be putting practice cards together and running the demo.
He's not breaking down film. I know that. So
no. So yeah, it will be interesting. More good minds are great as long as you have a set chain of command. This is exactly how we're going to do it, how we're going to follow it. We get to game day. Hey, Petzing is calling plays, input from X, Y, and Z. If you got something, you go to Dan. He goes to Petzing. Like, I don't care how it's done, but you got to have a chain of command so that things don't get jumbled, because that play clock will go fast.
Yeah. And, I just wonder if the makeup inside the office is going to be like the show, The Office. So I just want, wandering around, with the coffee mug.
Yeah, let's see what's going on over here.
Yeah. Well, high-level assistant, you dropped a vocab word, amiable. I mean, this is top-notch, John Jansen. And so
an education.
Yeah. Well,
don't ask me to spell it. I can use it, but don't ask me to spell it. That's why
IT. That's how you spell it. IT.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There you go. But that's a perfect segue. We'll get you out the door real quick. You've been so respectful of the time. We appreciate that so much. But the Kyle Whittingham hire, I mean, I think Michigan, based on some of the turmoil and the way things went in with everything with Sharon Moore, it's a slam dunk hire to get an experienced coach like Kyle Whittingham. Do you feel good about the direction there in Ann Arbor?
I feel like it was the best decision at the time, and the coaching carousel had somewhat slowed down. It didn't stop, but all the big programs had already made their moves, and it's really hard to take other coaches or get other coaches that are still playing in the playoffs, whether it's head coaches, assistant coaches, coordinators. That becomes a very difficult situation. So, and I do appreciate, I forget how you put it there, turmoil. That's a very kind way of putting what happened in Ann Arbor as turmoil. So he brings in a staff that he trusts, that has been with them in various locations. And we all know that's, as a head coach coming into a new spot, into a new conference, that's what you're going to have to do. Now the challenge is there, right? It's, hey, you inherited a team that had a bizarre season and a bizarreness that was going on in the building. And my hat's off to the assistant coaches, because this is still a 9-win team. And yeah, I know they lost to Oklahoma, USC, and Ohio State, their toughest 3 opponents, but you don't get to a 9-win season without, really good assistant coaches. So he's inherited that team. He's been able to keep a lot of those guys around, and he's added to it. Now, the question is, hey, he's 21 years in Utah, and it was 3 conference championships. One of them was a Mountain West, and 2 of them were Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8. I don't know what they were at the time. But it's
Pac-8.
This is a different conference. And so Jason Beck and Coach Hill, they're going to have to find ways to figure out what it means to play football in the Big Ten, win in the Big Ten, as well as obviously Coach Whittingham.
For sure. Now I'm going to have to listen to Banta talk about USC the rest of the episode, because you mentioned the Trojans. He's going to go fight on and everything else. And
well, that was too. Like, it was a Mountain West title. It was a Pac-12 championship. What do those really mean in the college football world? It's the Big Ten and the SEC, and really, it's just the Big Ten.
Yeah, exactly.
Just talk to me about 1990. Okay. All right. Yeah. I got the hard word for it.
Or, I was still in middle school at that time. So, yeah, you talked to me about 1990. Jake, were you even born?
No, I was at 92.
We have a rule on this show, John. I can make no reference to anything prior to 2000. I make 0 reference to anything prior to 2000, because Jake and Nat have no clue.
No, that's not even fair. I'm better than Natalie at it. Natalie is the worst. I'm somewhere in the middle. But hey, real quick, I got to mix in my Northwestern Wildcats, the new stadium. Did you see some of those renderings? Do you guys go? Does Michigan go to Northwestern this year?
No, we play a tough schedule, so we won't play Northwestern. Sorry, tough one.
Hey, you guys barely escaped
USC. I got to take them at the Cats too.
You barely escaped Wrigley Field that game. Michigan did this year. I mean,
we were good enough to be able to turn the ball over 5 times and still win. So I'm not sure what that says about it. But no, I think it's an absolutely beautiful stadium. Now, if they can get Mr. Ryan to donate to their NIL, not just the stadium. Now we got some. Now you're cooking.
For sure. It's just too hard to get kids into school there at Northwestern. It takes a special breed to be able to break through those academic barriers.
Football, we'll find a way to get them in.
Yeah, but you're also talking to somebody that went to Northwestern as well, John. So
that's right. No, he knows. Go Cats, baby. Go Cats. All right, John, this has been awesome, dude. We got to do this again. I mean, the vocab words, the knowledge, the banter, it's been awesome. Appreciate you hopping on the live Locked On Lions squad show with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks,
all right.
John. See you.
There he goes. John Jansen, 97.1 The Ticket. Top 10 major market radio show host in the country, ladies and gentlemen. That's the type of guest we bring on the Locked On Lions squad show. Compliments Bradford Banta. Great get by you, my friend.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. You know, I mean, guilty by association sometimes, and I'm fortunate enough to, whenever they do pick up the phone, to ask these questions. And, you know, I've written him a nice little check, and the check is in the mail, John.
There we go. I love it. We'll keep rapping. We'll keep the episode going. We got 2 more segments to get to. We'll talk about Josh Paschal and that $100 million lawsuit. That's all still ahead on the live Locked On Lions squad show. Don't go anywhere. We roll along right after this. This episode of the Locked On Lions squad show is brought to you by our good friends over at BetterHelp. All right, February. It can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much talk about relationships. And it can honestly feel like everyone else has it all together in their love life. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating, single, or just focusing on you, most people are still figuring it out. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way. It can help you get clear on what you want, and of course, help you when you're feeling heavy and how to take some pressure off yourself. It's easy to assume everyone else has the perfect relationship, but most people are working through something. Therapy can help you recognize patterns that might be weighing relationships down. It can also help you communicate better, set healthier boundaries, and stop carrying everything alone. And even if you're not in a relationship right now, therapy can help you feel more confident in what you want to be moving forward. BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the United States, and they do the initial matching work for you, so you can focus on your goals. And if you want to switch therapists, you can do that at any time. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. 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 This episode of the Locked On Lions squad show is also brought to you by Home Chef. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door. With easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great, they're rated #1 by the users. And of course, the other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule, 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly combinations and options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free desserts for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. You must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert.
How many times did you have to scroll down?
Oh, man.
Reading that thing.
Yeah, that was a long one. That's what she said. We just keep rolling right along. I figured Jansen made the first joke like that. So we're already, they've already flagged this episode. Might as well.
We've gone down that road. Let's continue.
Yeah, which, by the way, that's the first time I've ever been told I got to loosen up a little bit. So I love that from John Jansen. Normally it's the other way. Bring it down a little bit and maybe grow up a little bit. So that I that's never happened to me before.
Okay, well, I mean that it's John's leadership ability.
There you go.
He throws you a couple curveballs that you're not expecting, and you are just, you're savoring for more is what you want.
Hey, that's the goal of this whole program, to be savoring for more. But kind of an oddity that took place this week with two Detroit Lions that will remain under contract in 2026 due to these little known rules. And we used to just call him Levi out again this week, because he was out again this week, And I thought that was the perfect nickname, because if it wasn't the back, it was the shoulder, the torn ACL. But make no mistake about it. So he's going to be back in 2026, as will Josh Paschal. And Paschal is one that, again, both of these players, I feel like we can just say the same thing, that we've seen some glimpses, but the overwhelming takeaway has just been the inability to stay healthy and the injuries. But I mean, if cats have 9 lives, these two guys also have 9 lives, because they've got one more year to try to prove their worth and their value.
They definitely are, and they need to definitely take advantage of it, because there's the old adage, you can't make the club in the tub. And both of these guys are starting to, what do they call it? Wilt a little bit, or get a little, they're spending a lot of time in the tub. So in Levi's case, he was put on the physically unable to perform. And there's a couple sections in the collective bargaining agreement and in the contracts that they signed that, as a player, you have to be aware of what kind of medical designation you're being put on. And by them not being put on IR, then, which is injured reserve, these little caveats, and they use these legal terms like toll, and what is toll? Toll. I mean, if you just read it, toll is, let's see, will not be, it's like any player placed on PUP will be paid his full paragraph 5 salary while on such list. His contract will not be tolled for the period. Just put it in English, would you? And not legal terms. Come on. I mean, we're not going to misinterpret, regular English language. It's you got to go. What's the term?
Layman's terms.
Yeah, put it in layman's terms, and not something that we have to go Google what's being said here. And in Levi's case, and in Josh's case, because Josh was put on non-football injury, and so you feel bad for the player, but that's what the club does to protect itself. And can these players now step up and make plays, because they're essentially going to be playing on another 1-year deal for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, and it is so kind of, I guess, fitting the way how similar these two players were and are. Both second round picks, both just bitten by the injury bug. And honestly, what you say about one, you feel like you can say about the other. Both defensive linemen, obviously, Levi on the interior and Paschal could provide some edge help. Both areas that you're never going to say no to some added depth there. I have a hard time believing that these are the two guys that are going to provide that added depth. And I heard Matt Derry on the Daily Show on Locked On Lions, and even on the YouTube Shorts. Got to hit those YouTube Shorts, man. We need more content. We need more content, baby. Matt Derry, I know you were on the town hall yesterday, and we waited 44 minutes to mix it in, but we need more content for Locked On, baby. But no, in all seriousness, I don't see these two guys being impactful contributors in 2026.
And then, okay, the next question you have to ask yourself with management is you're going to go through free agency. You're going to go through the draft. Then you're going to get some UDFAs, undrafted free agents. Do you get somebody who can match these guys' potential? And then do you just switch them out after that? Do you let them just move on once they start practicing? Because these guys have to get healthy enough to practice. And you get them out on the field, see what they can do, watch them move around. But then you start rolling the dice. Okay, the more reps these guys take, the more apt they are to get injured. Why do you say that? Because that's been their past history. So
no,
go ahead.
Exactly. We're saying the same thing. And that's another part when after I got through the paragraphs and paragraphs of what all this means and my dumb brain trying to understand it too. Bottom line is that they still got to make the team, and they still have to, prove that whether it be in training camp and everything else, that they're worthy of a roster spot. But basically, this is just either delaying the inevitable, or like I said earlier, it's just if you're a cat with 9 lives, okay, this is literally the last live.
And if I understand this correctly, with them coming back for an additional year, so if you cut them, there's 0 lost as far as cap space.
Yeah,
there's 0 loss. So they are just they're working just for their salary. They have no signing bonus. They didn't roll over any signing bonus that they possibly received whenever they originally signed the deal. So it's nothing lost on salary cap, even though the salary cap is projected to be 301 to 305 million, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean, you're just like, holy cow. So I was doing the math and I went back and I looked. I want to say in 94, what was this? The salary cap was like $40 million.
That's crazy.
You know what? I want to look this up real quick. I was flabbergasted.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, we should have asked Jansen about that as well. I mean, you guys could chuckle about what the salary cap were.
I am wrong. It was $34.6 million.
Jeez. Wow, different times, my friend.
Oh,
different
brother.
times. All right, hey, from what was the salary cap then?
34.6.
From 34.6 million to 100 million. That's what's coming up next. We close out the live Locked On Lions squad show in just a second.
What a good crossover.
Today's episode of the Locked On Lions squad show is brought to you by Gusto. All right, listen up, my friends. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets, and that is where Gusto comes in. It's to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding, materials, and of course, direct deposits, they save you hours every single week. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl and get 3 months free. 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. One more time, it's gusto.com/lockedonnfl. I like that one. It's smooth, it's quick, it's to the point, and easy to read. And we're rolling now. We're closing out a live Locked On Lions squad show. Jake Riepma, Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin is off doing Detroit Pistons duties. They made a trade, before the NBA trade deadline. No more Jaden Ivey, sad, but hey, This Detroit Pistons teams, we're thinking one thing. That's NBA Finals, baby.
Got to make it. Let's go. Started out on the right foot. We're rolling. They're keeping that involved. Going to interview the new guys. Man, you talk about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and a big win last night over the Nuggets. I saw some Twitter videos or X videos. Nat doing her thing. We love to see that, and she will be back on the program next week. We'll also be back to our usual Tuesday, Thursday, but it doesn't matter because
as of right now we are. Yes.
Yeah, give it time. If you miss any of the episode, Bradford, the audio version.
Where can I find it, Jake?
Wherever you get your podcast, because you can make damn sure I'll post it, I'll upload it, and then I'll spend another 2 hours just doing Locked On, because that's what we got to do. If we had the Locked On, we were going to open with that, but we had John Jansen on. We don't want to keep him waiting. The Locked On Town Hall yesterday. I think that was your first Locked On Town Hall you were privy to?
That was my first Locked On Town Hall. Yes, it was. So
a lot of shout outs.
Oh, a lot of shout outs. Everything was kept on schedule, and we made sure that it was kept on schedule. And I kept waiting for the Locked On Lions squad show to get brought up. But no. But I think it's only because we've been in business for about 6 months now, which is pretty incredible. You think about that. So, which is pretty cool.
For sure. And our fearless leader, Sam, did a great job representing the squad shows and the post-game shows, which is my shameless plug, because I can't wait for baseball season to be doing Locked On Tigers post-game shows. Bradford, you think I'm bad with Locked On Lions squad shows, man. So it's Locked On Tigers post-game. I scream and I pull my hair out, and people have to talk to me after that. Yeah. Yes, correct. It is very fan-sided. But no, in all seriousness, Locked On is in good hands. I think every single department head has their ish together. If yesterday's town hall was any indication of that, there's a very clear and concise plan. And obviously this is me backpedaling in case management watches. And, we hopefully aren't given a pink slip. But no mention of Locked On Lions squad show, which is just bulletin board material, right, Bradford? You and I mean, obviously you more than me, but we're fueled by bulletin board material.
Always like being the underdog.
That's right. Then we go. Yeah. Let's wrap with you brought this up when we were doing a little pre-show planning. The circle back to the DK Metcalf fan interaction from that game at Ford Field against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I apologize, I don't have the fan's name in front of me. In fact,
Ryan Kennedy. Kennedy.
You're all over it. But he's got the backwards hat, the long hair, and filing the big lawsuit, which this, I'm no lawyer, I'm no expert, but it feels like it's the classic big swing $100 million lawsuit, just trying to get some take home piece of the pie.
That's really what it is. And I think there's only two people that honestly know what was said. So it's going to come down to he said, she said, and then, but also included in this case is a defamation by Chad Ochocinco and Shay Media, which is Shannon Sharp's media company, where Chad Ochocinco Johnson came out and bashed Kennedy, talking that he used some offensive language towards Metcalf and Metcalf's mother. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. But also named in it is Ford Field, and this is where I kind of see I could see where, like, you're gonna have a suit and then a countersuit, and it's all going to get played out in court. But where was security while this was going on? And fan and player interaction of that measure, I just don't understand how and why that took place. If you have a security nearby, this can security alert the Steelers security to come and pull their player away from the stands, because that interaction that close, because they were a foot apart from each other. Kennedy was leaning down, Metcalf was leaning up. It still puzzles me to this day. And with security being all around the field as it was, is why and how that happened. And if you're there, if you're within earshot, then you try to do what you can to de-escalate the situation by removing the player, get him back to the bench area, and then just politely asking the fan, please return to your seat.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see who gets what and who is accused of what in this entire process, because you have Metcalf, you had Ford Field, you have Shay Media with Shannon Sharp, the Volume podcast as well. And I think that's the one that Chad Johnson was on. So you have about 5 different parties that are involved in this lawsuit that Ryan Kennedy has brought up.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you did a deeper dive into it with the Ford Field stuff, because that's really interesting as well. I hadn't realized that, but yeah, we'll I'm sure if and when and how it all gets played out, we'll be hard at work as the hard-hitting journalists that we are, pounding the pavement for answers. We need answers on this on Lion Squad show. But yeah, back to regular schedule programming next week. We think Tuesday, Thursday, TBD. Audio version available wherever, and it's only Wednesday, so I hate to do a weekend preview, but rest of the week, I mean, we got some walks scheduled. What else we got lined up, Bradford Banta?
Yeah, no, I mean, you got the game.
That's right.
So I think it's 8:00 start time, I believe.
Is it that? I think 6:40 here, so would that be 7:40 there? Yeah.
Okay, possibly. So yeah. I just I'll be curious to see how this game plays out, and how I mean, both of them talking about McDonald and talking about Vrabel, both of the head coaches. I think it's going to be a good game, but as John alluded to earlier, I just see Seattle being more well-rounded team and being able to uplift a certain phase if another phase happens to fall behind. I just don't see that happening with New England, but New England always has a few tricks up their sleeve, and with 2 weeks to prepare for a game is a lot different than 1 week to prepare for a game. But the hay is never in the barn until the game's over. So, coaches can come out and use that cliche, the hay is in the barn, let's say in the NFL, after Friday. Well, no, the hay is never in the barn until the clock reads triple zeros. You're always thinking about how you can improve and what you can do better. I guarantee you. Now, Mike McDonald is the same way, but situational wise, I would have to give the advantage to the Patriots. Why? It's just because that's the train of thought that Vrabel was brought up in as a player, and he has those guys ready to play. Now, being associated with Mike McDonald at Michigan, that's where I think we won a lot of games. Whenever I was there, being an analyst at Michigan, is that we practiced the situations. We went over a situation a day, if not 2 a day. And this was starting in spring ball, and it went all the way through till the end of the season. And then you would take your main situations and just and retouch those during the season. But I think that's where you're going to see the difference between the two teams, because both of them are there for a reason. You can talk about New England having an easier schedule, but you know what? They're there, and there are 30 other teams that are not. So hats off to them.
For sure. We'll be back to recap it all next week. For Bradford Banta, my name is Jake Riepma. Thanks to John Jansen for joining us. If you missed anything, The audio-only version, always available for you wherever you get your podcast on the #1 sports podcast platform, the Locked On Podcast Network. And, of course, you can always watch on YouTube as well. We'll talk to you after the big game 60, Super Bowl 60 on the Locked On Podcast Network. Goodbye, everyone.